Whoa, it's so good to see all these people coming in on a cold night up here in Boston. Well, really, we thank you very much for wanting to spend some time with us tonight here on the Six Screens Tele Network, of course, exposing the Jehovah's Witness religion. Well, we have got a woman, her name is Anne Marie. She's out of California, and she's a former Jehovah's Witness. And she wants to expose the witnesses on our network because she knows, rightfully so, that they're a very dangerous organization. So she'll be talking about that tonight. But let's bring Anne Marie in right now. Hello, Anne Marie.
Hello, my brother Rick. Happy Six Screen Saturday. How are you and Susan?
Well, we're doing really good. We got about 4 or 5 inches of snow today, so it's kind of picturesque. It's always nice when it snows at first, but a couple of days later it looks awful, dirty. But it's kind of picturesque and Carrier knives up here, Anne Marie. It's beautiful. Yep.
Oh, that's so nice. I'm so happy for the season.
Yeah.
What's your guys' Christmas?
Well, I'll tell you, every day is Christmas, Anne Marie. That's the line I used to use when people would ask me when I was a Jehovah's Witness, "Hey, Rick, how was your Christmas?" And he didn't want to get into a long explanation about the whole thing, so I would just tell the people, "Well, every day is Christmas," and in a way, it is, right, Anne Marie? I mean, every day we're living and getting up and walking around. I suppose that's a bonus. That's a gift, right? But that's what I used to say. In fact, that's what really put a lot of witnesses on edge. Well, what do you do when people come up to you when you're a witness and wish you Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays?
I always thank them for their kindness and always wish them happy days ahead. I did the best I could to be polite and kind.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I was too, and it puts you in an awkward situation. I was always so happy when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses that Christmas was over. And then you had to face New Year's too. I don't know what the big deal about New Year's is and why the Jehovah's Witnesses don't put any credence in that. It's a new year. I mean, can't you kind of celebrate that you got a new year ahead of you and everything can be good? Oh, no, no, no. The witnesses hated New Year's as well, Anne Marie.
Oh, that's a shame. I always was happy for the new year. I used to let my kids stay up until midnight, even though they were little, and I'd get them in a little group and I'd have a big sign for them to hold that said New Year's and then, the old year and the new year, and they'd always be happy about that. I didn't think there was anything wrong with that.
No, there wasn't. But, the witnesses made a big deal about it. But, back in the early 50s until about the mid 50s, well, even I'd say most of the 50s, let's go with that. You could actually celebrate New Year's. My mother was a loyal witness at the time, and I can remember her having New Year's Eve parties at my house where I lived when I was a kid. But they kind of put they kind of put the clapper on that one. They don't want people to do it anymore. I mean, I don't see any paganism attached to it. What in goodness name's sake is the matter with, looking forward to a brand new year? I think it's wonderful.
Well, anything that has happiness that isn't connected to Watchtower causing the happiness, they frown on it and they're going to make you feel guilty about it.
Well, yes, they are. Well, listen, I'll cut you loose, and you can do your thing. I'm here if you need me, Emery. Okay.
Oh, thank you so much. I prayed over the phone, hoping it'll hold up and not misbehave.
Well,
thank you again.
Right now it's doing good. Right now it's doing good. So let's let it go like that. It's really good.
Thank you, my brother. I want to welcome everyone in on I think it's the last touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower for the year 2025. Today is Saturday, Six Screen Saturday, December 27th, 2025. And once again, I am so grateful for our freedom, and I'm so grateful for the platform that Rick and Susan give us every single week. I want to welcome everyone always, even if you're tired of hearing it. It's important, I believe, to welcome in the PIMQs, those who are physically in the Watchtower but mentally questioning, because to me that is the most scary position to be in, to be loyal but to know something's wrong and to have questions that you know you can't ask. Like Rick always says, you can ask questions of the Watchtower, but you can't question their answers. You always have to be proving your loyalty to the Watchtower. I welcome all the PIMOs, those who are physically in Watchtower, struggling to keep up the appearance of being a quote unquote faithful Watchtowerite because they love their wife, their husband, their children, their grandparents, their friends, and they're hoping maybe to help others to wake up to the truth about the truth. I want to welcome all of you who have made it out. We are so blessed, even though we carry scars, and it's not easy. It's not easy to live with the shunning, and when we miss our friends in the Watchtower, it makes it hard, but we are blessed to be free, and freedom does not come free. There's always a cost, but there's a greater cost to staying in a cult where there's no love, no real truth, when they're hanging punishment over your head with fear. I wanted to talk today, if it's all right. It's after Christmas, and Christmas is something that can be a happy time for us who have left the Watchtower and find joy in Christmas. And then there are those that go through depression because maybe we regret all the Christmases that our children didn't get to have. And maybe we regret because we're older, the ones that we did have Christmas with, they've gone on with their lives. And sometimes it's a sad thing, but no matter what, no matter how hard things can be, like Rick said, we do have the gift of freedom every day. I was wondering if anybody would like to call in and say hello, share your thoughts on how you feel about Christmas, positive or negative, or even if you don't care any one way or the other, if you had a good Christmas, if it was just another day, how you're feeling, how was your last couple weeks. Anybody would like to come in and call in and chime in and hit *6? I want you to feel welcome because this is your show and I'm here to listen to you. Anybody want to say hello? Well, this year Christmas was kind of hard. I spent 35 years carefully collecting beautiful, beautiful ornaments for our tree, and I had to give away every single one. I wish I had kept at least one. I had to get rid of so many things in the room. We didn't have room for a Christmas tree or money for gifts, or we didn't have our usual Christmas dinner because everybody knows there's nowhere to sit in our new space. And for me, it was very depressing. And as usual, my husband, he always tries to make me feel good, gives me gifts, gives me a beautiful card every year. His sister makes us Christmas cookies, and I appreciate that. And my son, who was raised in the organization, and of course he's out, he sent us gifts, and that was sweet, but it just made me feel sad at the same time. So for me, the happy day is the day after Christmas and the next day, because I like to be positive and think of all the things I have to be grateful for. And one is that I made it through another Christmas season, and now the days are getting longer, the sun is shining, I have a beautiful family, a wonderful husband, but most of all, I am grateful, so grateful that I'm awake from the falsehood of that horrible cult that had such control of my mind for all my life. Even after I left the Watchtower when I was 15, I still believed, I truly believed that the Watchtower was God's organization. And I completely believed every day after I left that God was going to kill me because I didn't want any part of that organization. It was hard from the age of 15 to live with the reality, the belief that God hated me and he was going to destroy me. And, even with that, it's better to be free, I thought. And God's going to kill me, he's going to kill me. But I wanted to enjoy each day that I did have, not having to associate with that fakeness and that constant not feeling good enough and not being, no matter how much you did in the Watchtower, at least for me, you were never good enough. You were always falling short. You were never doing enough. You had to work on this and you need to work on that. Sorry. Yeah, kids outside blowing off firecrackers. Anyone like to share their thoughts on Christmas or how your
I have
holiday
my
was?
Christmas pizza.
Anne-Marie?
Okay.
Yes, sister, can we let the gentleman go first? Please don't leave. Brother, who are you? What's your name?
Hi, Anne-Marie. This is Stefan. How are you?
Well, want to know straight up truth. I'm happy to hear your voice. How are you, my brother?
Well, actually, I'm on cloud nine. This topic of Christmas is apropos because of the time of year. Now, even after I woke up, I have to say I don't really have any feelings one way or the other about Christmas. I think it's a great time because it puts a smile on people's face. People tend to slow down a little bit in life, spend time with family, so that's always a good thing. It's just a good time, happy time of the year. But for me personally, I don't really have a whole lot of feelings about it. But I'll tell you, Anne-Marie, I have an uncle, and he lives in Georgia. And so my mom and I jumped in the car, and we drove down to Georgia. And on Christmas Eve, we surprised my uncle. He had no idea we were coming. We've been working with his wife and his daughter, which is my cousin, behind the scenes because he's a busy guy and he's always bouncing around doing a bunch of stuff to make sure he stayed at home, you know. And he opens the door, and here we are standing there. And I'm telling you, my uncle is never a person that's short for words. He was speechless. And he was speechless that whole day. Right. So the point that I'm making is even though Christmas didn't really have a lot of meaning one way or the other for me, just to put a smile on my uncle's face as well as my mom's face for driving her down. You know, she just sat there and enjoyed the ride, and it was just a happy time. And you know, Anne-Marie, I just couldn't help but think the entire time. My uncle has I have to say, of all the houses I've ever been in my life, my uncle's house is the nicest. My first time being, I lost track of counting how many rooms are in this house. This is how big this house is.
Oh, wow.
And it was just all, it was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And the only thing I could think of the whole time is how much fun we were having. We literally ate a meal. After we ate a meal, we kind of talked and told stories, and we went down to the movie room or the screening room, I think he calls it, and we watched two movies. One I had seen before, and the other one I had never seen because it was a Christmas classic. And that's kind of like all we did. They hardly drink. I mean, the point that I'm making is the demonization, let's call it that, of Christmas, as well as people and people who celebrate and all the symbols that are associated, how those things are so demonized. And yet in reality, this was the most wholesome thing I've been to in a long time. My family doesn't even drink. Now, you know doggone well, if this was any kind of witness, you know, get together, there would have been all kinds of beer and hard liquor. They don't drink anything. And they had a great time watching. And both of these movies were kids, PG movies. There was no sex whatsoever, a little bit of swearing, but nothing to raise an eyebrow. And I just kept thinking to myself how the witnesses would demonize people, the holiday, but yet it was just the most wholesome thing that you ever want to see. And it just was just and it was just all family. It was, just family, and we had a great time, and everybody loved each other. And then at the end of it, because I have never really celebrated Christmas outside of just being with my mom, I didn't know what was going on. So they said, "Well, we're going to go upstairs." And I said, "Oh, okay." So we go upstairs, and they said, "Well, listen." They said, "We know your daughters live out of state, and we were thinking we wanted to help you to see your daughters. And so the gift from us is a set of tickets for you to go to Florida. My daughters are in Florida. Go to Florida anytime you want, and you just call in and set it up. And that's our gift to you. So we make sure you stay in contact with your daughters." Now, how wholesome and beautiful and loving, that is, in contrast to Watchtower. And I want to say this one last thing, Anne-Marie. My uncle, my cousin, the wife, my uncle was married to my cousin's wife. Obviously, that's where she came from. And they got divorced many, many, many years ago. She is now up in age, and the level of health problems that she has is just, you'd be amazed. My uncle, out of respect for his daughter, takes his ex-wife to her medical appointments. She has to have chemotherapy, this, that, and the other. Again, the point that I'm making is Watchtower witnesses would have done none of that. They wouldn't have taken anybody to the hospital, to the doctor, picked up medicine. They wouldn't have done any of that. And I know that because I saw that firsthand in my old congregation. We had a ton of elderly witnesses. They had to be put in nursing homes. They had to have surgery. They had nobody to care for them. There was only one sister in the whole hall that gave a damn and would go and visit the witnesses periodically when they'd be in these nursing homes and all that. And they had no family because they listened to Watchtower and all of that. Yet here's my uncle, who is a non-witness, never been a witness. He's slightly religious, but not really in the conventional sense. And yet he takes his ex-wife to her treatments, and we're talking about daily treatments. I think the only day she doesn't go for her treatment is on a Sunday. Every day he gets up, goes and gets her, and escorts her, puts her in a car, takes her, waits for the treatment to end, brings her back home if she needs medicine or whatever. And he goes, and it's not because he loves her or anything like that. It's more out of respect, like I said, for the fact that he's his daughter's mother, and he doesn't want to put all that on his daughter. But I was just contrasting that whole weekend with Jehovah's Witnesses, how they demonize the holiday and people who celebrate it, and yet it's the most beautiful, wholesome thing ever. And how they demonize the rest of the world, and yet they do nothing for nobody, including their own people. And here you have people that are so-called worldly people that still do for one another, even though they're no longer married to each other. And the contrast, it just spoke volumes about all the lies that Watchtower has told over the years about non-witnesses. It is just not true. Some of them are the most beautiful, loving people you will ever meet in your life, Anne-Marie. And Watchtower should take note, encourage their people to be that. But to me, they're of the devil, and that's how they treat one another, with no love and in a very cold world. They just contribute to it. They contribute to the cult. So anyway, that's how my Christmas was. It didn't mean anything to me, but it was very important for me to put a smile on other people's face, only to see how altruistic and Christian they really are towards one another in contrast to Watchtower. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Exactly.
Anne-Marie?
Justin, thank you for that beautiful share. Yes, who's this?
This is Donald from Texas here. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Yeah, that's, you can thank Judge Rutherford for all that garbage, because he's the one who demonized the holidays. I mean, and like he was saying earlier, his family, this guy took his ex-wife. I mean, to me, that's love. I mean, he took his ex-wife to chemotherapy. And like he said, the Watchtower won't do anything like that. Of course not. If you're not a witness, or if you've been disfellowshipped, they're going to treat you like you're dead anyway. So it doesn't matter, chemo and stuff. They won't care. And like I said, the Watchtower organization demonizes everyone and everything except for themselves. They put themselves up on this pedestal that's holier than thou, so to speak, and they want you to follow the governing body and worship them and follow everything they say, and yet they turn around and condemn everybody else and saying that they're not doing the Christian deeds that they should be doing. I mean, Watchtower it's utterly satanic. I mean, it's a satanic group that looks nice on the outside, and yes, I will say there are probably some Jehovah's Witnesses that are honest people, but of course I'm not speaking about the witnesses themselves as I'm speaking about the organization. But unfortunately, the witnesses themselves are the cover-up for that terrible man-made religion. And that's what it is. It is a man-made religion that's made up its own Bible, changed the Bible, makes rules up, claims they're from God, but they're absolutely not. I mean, like even the blood transfusion thing, I was thinking about that today. How is it that they can't take a blood transfusion, but they can take fractions? Aren't those fractions made out of blood themselves? And if so, why are they taking them?
Oh, they're always trying to make themselves look good, and they're always trying to finagle with different things, and strain out the gnat but gulp down the camel. They
Did JWN watch it this week?
What was that?
I thought that there was a sister waiting. Donald, did you finish your comment? I'm so sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you.
Oh, I was just still wanting to comment on that because I just came in and I heard him talking about his the guy's ex-wife and taking her to chemo and how beautiful that was.
What's your name, sweetie? Sorry?
How the holidays are not demonized and stuff, but yeah.
Donald,
Yeah.
check JW Analyzer this week for some wonderful songs, but also he has noted, or no, I think it was on Fixing My Faith with Vern. There's a special AI out there called Sarah,
I heard
and
about
it
that.
sounds like the witnesses have set up this AI, and it's not accurate. It's giving the witness position on blood. Anytime that you want to use the robot for anything like put in, for instance, nutrition, and then space, and then peaches, or put in medical initiative, and then space, and then diabetes, and then you'll get facts. But they've got this new information called Sarah, and it's only giving the witness perspective. It's not giving any medical facts.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only truth. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I heard that earlier today about that Sarah thing, and that thing is awful. I mean, it's terrible.
What's your name, brother? Is this Donald?
This is Donald,
Okay, I just want to be sure. Oh, wow. Did you want to add anything? I really enjoy hearing you guys talk. Yeah, you did.
It's Rich. It's Dick. Or my
I'm
name's
sorry.
it's Dick. Dick Gordy. Can you hear me?
Now, would you hear another one?
Oh, he said his name was Rich. R-I-C-H.
It's Dick Borgie. Can you hear him all right, Emery?
Yeah, how are you, Andy?
Good, how are you?
I am fine. I couldn't be more happier. I got a little thing I just wanted to say about Christmas. When I grew up, it's the happiest time of the year. Happier than birthdays or anything else like that. It was so happy. In those days, there was no drinking, there was no marijuana, there wasn't anything to get high on. It was just being high on life. I can remember my high school assemblies, and we had an orchestra and a chorus, and we sang Christmas songs all day long. I could hold hands with my girlfriend.
They are uplifting, aren't they? Especially Joy to the World.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was. And then my parents would have all my cousins come over, or with both of my cousins, and my aunts and uncles, and nobody really drank. My father might have had one alcoholic drink. Maybe my mother had a beer. That would be it. That would be the only alcohol that would be anybody would take. It was just a really, really nice feeling. And I think all what my mother and father lost when both me and my sister in our early 20s became Jehovah's Witnesses, and we didn't go over the house for Christmas. There was no Christmas trees. There was just field service, where you knocked on doors and people gave you the worst look in the world. That's all it was. My Christmases were so happy. And now this is now, married to Connie. it's just fantastic. We shut the phone off. We didn't take calls on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or yesterday. We just spent the time just with us, reminiscing about our Christmases in the past, because both me and Connie came into the college when she was 17. I was 20 years old when I came into the college. So we remember wonderful Christmases, and now we're having those wonderful Christmases again. And, you know, I'm finally getting over the guilt of not coming over to my parents' house, not feeling bad for my parents who didn't see us at Christmas. We didn't hear from us on Mother and Father's Day or Valentine's Day or anything like that. This cult is absolutely horrendous, and step by step, it's going down. All the lies are being exposed on YouTube, on our 6 screens. It's all going down. And I'm just so happy that we have Christmas trees on our front porch, and we've got all kinds of stuff decorating the house. Didn't do as much as last year because I was in the hospital, but it's just a really nice feeling to be celebrating Christmas again. Yes, Jesus was not born on December 25th. He was probably born in April or May, but we don't know when he was born. And yes, the pagans celebrated Saturnalia, I don't know how many centuries ago, but that doesn't matter. It's a giving season. Yeah, there's true. People abuse alcohol on it. There are people who have car crashes. But for the majority of people, far majority of people, they're enjoying this season as being very, very special. And that's all I want to say. Did you want to say something, Connie? Okay, Connie's eating an apple, so
Oh, good.
I'll have a call back later. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dick. Thank you. My sister. Connie there?
No, she's eating right now. She'll call back later.
Okay. Dick,
Thank
I
you.
am just so glad to hear you talk, and I'm glad you're better. I was worried about you, and I don't have either of your phone numbers, but I really appreciate your giving that, your thoughts on Christmas. It is a beautiful time, and when we remember what it's really about, at least for us in this time frame, is joy that the Lord was born and that he was here for us and died for us and loves us. And it's a time of joy and family, and to look back and realize how grateful we are, how much we have to be thankful for. That was so beautiful what you shared.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. And just let me add to that. The reason why Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate Christmas has nothing really to do with Saturnalia did centuries and centuries and centuries ago. They don't want you mixing with anyone who is not a Jehovah's Witness. They would have you believe that everyone in the world is a pagan, everyone in the world is a drunk or a drug addict, or immoral or greedy, and only Jehovah's Witnesses are the pure heart and the sinless people. That's what they want you to believe. It's a scam, it's a lie. It's just too bad that so many people buy into it. But I'll also say I'm so happy for 6 screens, you and Marie, and all those people that are on 6 screens that are casting a bright light into the darkness of the Watchtower, the lies of the Watchtower, the hypocrisy of the Watchtower, the greed of the Watchtower. And it's all being exposed on 6 screens on YouTube. There are so many good people have done really, really good deep research into the Watchtower and expressing who these crooks are, these hypocrites, these liars, who they really are. And they're horrible. So I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas. And you know what? You can celebrate New Year's too. You don't have to get drunk or any of that stuff. Just be with those that you love. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, my brother Dick, for that. Would anybody like to comment? There was a sister earlier before Stephen that wanted to speak. I don't know if that was Dixie. sounded like someone else. Would somebody like to speak who's been waiting? Star 6, is it your turn? Yes.
Donald, this is Donald again. I've got to tell you how my Christmas was. I had a good one, but I mean, of course, yeah. My mom passed away on the 19th in 24.
Oh,
but,
this month?
yeah, I lost.
This
Well,
month?
but this month, but last year, she died on the 19th due to lung cancer. But I had a fairly decent Christmas. I went and spent Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day, or Christmas evening at my friend Elinda's house, and we had a good meal. And they got me, her and her family got me a gift. They got me some hot sauce. I love spicy stuff. The spicier, the better. But they got me some hot sauce, and we had chicken, we had ham, we had dressing, we had macaroni and cheese, green beans, and iced tea.
Aw.
And it was good.
I'm happy for you, Donald.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was just sad not having here, of course, but
Well, the wonderful thing about Christmas is when you come together with others, you know that they're there with you because they want to be with you, not because of your being in some religion that they agree with.
I agree with you.
I mean, nobody at a Christmas gathering or birthday party or any other kind of gathering, never does anybody say, "Are you a Jehovah's Witness? Oh, if you're not, I can't associate with you." Right?
But you know what I was thinking about too, Anne Marie? I think another reason why they don't celebrate Christmas is think about what Christmas is. The word Christ is in Christmas, right? So they don't want you putting too much emphasis on Jesus because it takes away from them.
It's kind of, to me, the same reason why they have that satanic ritual with the memorial, taking the cup and taking the bread into your hand, looking at it, knowing what it symbolizes, and passing it up. It's like saying, we don't need you, Jesus. We can earn everything for ourselves. It's a mockery. And to deny Christmas, which is supposed to be celebrating the birth of our Lord and our King, the whole Christian Bible in the beginning is all about looking forward to Christmas, looking forward to the birth of our Savior. And when he comes, we're supposed to ignore it.
Yeah,
we follow Jesus. They say we follow Jesus. No, you don't.
Yeah. When Christmas comes, that was good news brought to us because the angels in heaven even said that they bring the shepherds good news, and that that a Savior was born, and he wasn't born on Christmas Day, no, but we're celebrating the birth of Christ. We're celebrating the fact that he was born and that he came because he loves us and he wants us to be saved and he wants us to be with him, and that is very good news.
Yes, what a beautiful Savior we have. And, I asked my husband the other day what was his favorite Christmas song, and he said, "Joy to the World." And I thought that was beautiful because I had thought earlier when I was in the Watchtower, what is so horrible about Christmas songs? And I thought about Joy to the World. And it says, "Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King."
Yep.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, but if it was a song about the glory of the Watchtower, well, that's different.
I wonder what would happen if someone walked in the hall singing "Joy to the World." I wonder what they would do.
Yeah, exactly. And every time I think of that song, let every heart receive him and have joy in that. Let heaven and nature sing because he was born. How is that in any way blasphemous against God?
It's not.
especially when Jesus was baptized. Remember, the dove came down in Holy Spirit, and God said, "This is my son of whom I have approved. Listen to him." So God, Jehovah God, told all mankind to listen to Jesus. And Jesus said, "Come to me, I'm the light of the world. If you walk with me, you won't walk in darkness." That's John chapter 8. And, he said, "If you remain in my teaching, then you're really my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." You never hear Watchtower teaching that.
Because he also says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." So
we're not supposed to believe that.
Yeah, Jesus calls himself truth. So that puts the Watchtower to shame right there.
Yeah, but Watchtower doesn't ever preach that Jesus is the truth. They teach that they're the truth, and they never teach that he's the way to be right with God, to know truth, and so on. They teach that the only way to be right with God or to know the truth or even have a chance at life is through following them. And yet they're always telling you how you're going to lose your life, and they have that fear hanging over your head if you do anything wrong. They disfellowship you.
I've seen so many videos of people who've been disfellowshipped and how that organization just really ruins your entire life by disfellowshipping you. Because disfellowshipping, as you know, they're actually supposedly removing your salvation, because they're telling you, well, now you're dead.
It's basically a death sentence. I mean, everybody who truly believes in the Watchtower feels deeply in their heart, because of how they have indoctrinated us, that if you're disfellowshipped or removed, you have been condemned by God. God doesn't even hear your prayers, and you're going to die. I mean, what a horrible thing. That's not what Jesus died for.
I mean, okay, so you broke a Watchtower rule, but now you're disfellowshipped. Where is that in the Bible?
Exactly. I don't know where it is, but I think it's either in Galatians or 1 Corinthians, where Paul is mocking the tribunal. He said, "I don't have anything to do with you. I don't even judge myself."
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to add anything to your comment, Donald?
I just, wanted to say I had a fairly decent Christmas. It was a little sad, like I said, because my mom wasn't here. But other than that, it was good. I went to my friend Linda's, and we had a good time. And my friend Linda, her mom was there, and I haven't seen her mom in quite a while, since Harvey, actually Hurricane Harvey. So I saw her mom. I saw her two nephews, Douglas and Robert, and then her niece, Gabriella, and of course her sister, Julie. So they were all there.
Oh, honey, I'm so happy for you. I'm sorry about your mom, but I'm happy for you.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. Julie brought me home, so that was good.
That's so good, hon. Would anybody else need to chime in on anything, comment on anything Stephen said, or Donald, or Pixie, or Rich, or dear brother Borgie?
Yeah, hello, Ann.
Well, hello. How are you?
Oh, not too bad here, taking it one day at a time. Trying to put up with this miserable weather here that we got up in this area. Well, I just hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, and I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year and many, many more. So the news is going good. The news is going good regarding the demise of the Watchtower Society and so forth. There's more and more programs on the internet. There's so many on there that you can't even watch them all, and so forth. I just watched a program tonight exposing this afternoon rather, exposing the Watchtower Society. So I'm glad to hear that. But well,
I guess that it never ceases to amaze us and everything like that. They don't, their attitude and everything like that towards the holidays. I don't necessarily like everything that's going on either with these holidays and all that, but it's not right for the Watchtower Society to be making rules and regulations and prohibit somebody from celebrating a holiday. That is not in their Roman Church writings. It's not in the Jewish Torah either. So forth. The only thing there is if they're participating in idolatry or worshiping false gods, then that's prohibited, but nothing else. So, well, I don't know what to tell you on that. That religion is a religion that's from the tales of the dark side. And every time that I call in here and everything like that and listen to what the Watchtower's been doing and the policies of the Watchtower, I ask the question, am I in the real world here or am I in the dark side? I feel like I'm in the dark side a lot of times. So we just hope now that everybody has been enlightened and that everybody's been edified and that the Watchtower Society is exposed, and so we can kick them right to the curb where they belong.
I know. I always say, sir. This is Donald from Texas, sir. I always say that the organization is Satan's excrement.
Oh yeah, I'll agree with that 100%.
No doubt. You know, I don't know if you guys ever watched Kim and Mikey, but Mike made a comment one time. He said, as Jehovah's Witnesses, as followers and believers in the Watchtower, we were kept like mushrooms, kept in the dark and fed manure. I think that's sums it up. And go ahead. Would somebody like to comment? This show is for you.
Well, I would just like to say thank you for taking my comment right now. I'll keep on listening. Maybe I'll come in a little later with a comment. So we hit *6. Let's hear some comments from someone else.
Well, thank you, Ken. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Would anybody like to comment?
Well, I have a comment. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's your name?
Okay. My name's Tom.
Hi,
Hi. I was just looking it up and on Google with AI, and it does claim that Christmas is based on pagan celebrations. Even though they give it the Christian, the Jesus birth and all that stuff like that, but we need to remember that is true. It is based on pagan stuff, even though we don't do it because we're celebrating any pagan gods. And we are thinking about Jesus, and it is a good thing as far as that goes. But it is true, I believe, that it is based on the pagan things, and it wasn't even instituted by the Catholic Church until the 4th century. So, we got to remember that. It's not just Jehovah's Witnesses. They do kind of have a point. They are a cult, and everything else is wrong.
Right. But my personal, go ahead. Yes, sister.
Yeah. So this is Nicole. This is Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi. I'm okay. It's interesting that a lot of people love to say, or they just go with the narrative where everyone says that Christmas was taken from the pagans. But what exactly in Christmas was taken from the pagans? Is it a gift giving? Because gift giving was done even within the Jewish community during Hanukkah and even before that. Gift giving was taken from, many pagan sources, but they weren't offering their gifts to pagan gods. They were offering their gifts to one another. So is that pagan? or is that human? You know, that's one of the main things with Christmas, gathering with friends and family. How is that pagan? That's human. And even God's people back in Israel's day, they congregate together as families. That's not pagan. And so when people say that Christmas was taken from pagan sources, I beg the question, what exactly was taken from pagan sources? Saturnalia wasn't even celebrated on December 25th. It was over by December 23rd, you know? So when people run with the narrative that they hear everyone says, I always like to say, okay, show me the references. Let me read the references. Show me the receipts for what, you know, everybody agreed to. Sometimes we hear the narrative from a flow of people and we run with it, we go with it, instead of rocking back on our chairs and deciding, you know what, we've been bamboozled by this organization for so long. It's time we check the proof. Let's check it and see. While it is true the pagans did many things that is similarly done by Christians around Christmas time, how is it pagan? How is it pagan? That's my question.
Right. But then yes.
Marie?
I'll take the next caller, then I'll come back on, okay?
Okay. Who's speaking right now?
Hey, this is Kurt. Hi, Anne Marie.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Hi,
Hey, hey, good program. I thought I'd put my 2 cents in. I probably sound like I'm drunk sometimes, but I'm on a lot of medicine and pretty sick, and I'm not complaining. I'm like Rick says, I'm just explaining. So I'm right now just barely going, but I'm listening to your program. I want to put my 2 cents in. Any religious group in history, to my knowledge, if you go down to the foundation, it's man-made. It's started by men, groups of men, or one man. The local church, Baptist church, can trace their roots back to one man. And the Watchtower is man-made as well. Christmas, I got my whole family celebrates Christmas except me. I don't make a big deal out of it one way or the other. But with a little bit of research, I was satisfied in my research that it's a pagan root. We all know that. But what are the details? What are the details? And we could make a list. We'd get us a pad of paper and a pen and make a list of the pagan roots of Christmas. And it's quite lengthy. And for example, what pops in my mind is the Yuletide celebration in Northern Europe before the Romans. Celebration of the Yuletide annual celebration. The Germanic tribes were the ones that started that, and that's where the Yule log comes from. But there's a long list. I can think of 2 or 3 others. But what happened, we all know, with Christmas, when the Catholic Church was what was he called? I'll think of it in a minute. There in Rome, was given the power, and the Catholic Church took power, and they worked with the Europeans, Christians, to mix the celebration of the Christ birth with these pagan celebrations. And it's quite lengthy. Like I say, you could do a real thesis on it. And the Watchtower, they're very fundamental. You know, they're fakey, and they've disappointed me in many ways. But they're very fundamental, and that's where they get it for their fundamentalism.
will not allow them to celebrate Christmas. And whether it's the two-witness rule or whether it's Christmas, they're very fundamental. And so, we could fault them on that. But I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. And by the way, I've been meaning to ask you and Connie, you don't have to, I know you're from around this area, but do you know of a small town called Ione? I-O-N-E. Have you ever heard of that, Anne-Marie?
No, sir. No, sir. I sure haven't.
It's just outside of Sacramento. My son's married to a woman from Ione. I thought maybe you and Connie may have heard of Ione. It's a little southeast, I think, of Sacramento. But anyway, thanks for your time. I took up enough time, and thank you so much for letting me speak, Anne-Marie, okay?
Kurt, you are always a pleasure to have on, and I thank you so much.
Thank you, but I don't want to ever make you mad or anybody mad. I just want to put my 2 cents in. All right, honey. I'm going to get off here and go back to YouTube, okay?
Okay.
Thanks,
I hope you feel better, Kurt.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye. The thing that bothers me the most about Watchtower, as far as their rules and regulations and procedures and expectations and their controlling methods, personally, I believe a religion has the right to teach anything they want. What bothers me is that they do not allow you to exercise your own mind and to do the research and to make up your own mind and to go according to your own conscience. You do what we say, you believe what we say, and you don't do what we tell you you can't do or else. I think that to me is the real tragedy, when we realize we are allowing ourselves to be controlled by the whim of some group of men who don't give a rat's behind about you or your life or your family, but you're supposed to obey them no matter what, or they'll destroy you. I think that is the worst of this particular cult. Would anybody like to comment or speak?
Ann?
Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to just, I appreciate that caller that come in and everything like that. And he is right on, he is right on that situation. But the issue here with the Watchtower, with Six Screens Network is we have a constitution that says freedom of religion, freedom of choice, freedom of conscience. And the Watchtower Society does not respect that. They want to violate your rights. They want to violate your civil rights and human rights. In addition, they themselves commit more violations than any person put together from the rank and file and so forth. So violation of the constitutional rights is primarily what's thing. I'll give you another comment too. Now, in Christianity, if an Orthodox Christianity used to teach that you would learn from their Bible, and you should know better, and you should be able to sort everything out. You should be able to, accept the good and the godly, and discard the bad and the evil. But it seems like the Watchtower wants to do that for you, and that's not appropriate. The people have the choice and so forth. So they're going to come over and going to tell you not to celebrate birthdays, not to celebrate Christmas, not to celebrate Easter. Oh, give me a break, will you?
I heard you.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I got 2 favorite holidays that I'm going to celebrate in honor of the Watchtower Society. I'll celebrate their birthday on April 1st. And I'll celebrate a national holiday in the Watchtower Society on October 31st. So now what?
All right, go, Ken. Was that going to speak?
Yeah, I was like, not only that though, but the Watchtower, they, like he said, they're taking away your rights. I mean, where does this is what I have a problem with. Yeah, we have the right to the freedom of religion, but does the religion have the right to remove your rights? Because the religion, the Watchtower religion, tells you who you can see, who you can't see, what you can and cannot read, what music you can and cannot listen to, whether or not you can go to a church or not, what jobs you can and cannot take, what medical practices you can and cannot do. So they tell you everything. Where it's just they don't have the right to do that, but yet, of course, they, like I said, we do have the right to freedom of religion. But does the religion have the right to remove your rights of a citizen of a country?
Yeah.
Because
They're
that's what
very
they do.
controlling.
Yeah, because if they
They're
take
very-
away if you break those rights, if you break those rules, then what do? They disfellowship you or remove you.
Yep. Either way, they hold absolute control over your life if you are a follower and a believer in the Watchtower. But the truth is, there are tyrannical, dictatorial, controlling mind cults. It's really the truth. And you can't even, they even tell you can't go on certain sites or read certain books. What is there anything they don't control?
Have you all ever heard of a guy by the name of Mike Winger? Mike Winger on YouTube?
No, sir.
He's a pastor, I think, out of California there. And he was talking about that he had some witnesses come to his door, and they were telling him, oh, yeah, we can do research and whatever, claiming they could do outside of their religion. And then when he offered them a book, they said, no, we won't read it.
Well, talk about talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, his name is Mike Winger, Winger. You can find him. Yeah, he's pretty good. He talks about the JWs and his experiences with them and all that stuff.
It's amazing how much information there is right there at anyone's fingertips. And it's like, Rick has said so many times that the internet is the great equalizer, because Watchtower has been able to fool so many hundreds of thousands of people for so many years.
Yeah.
But you know what Luke 8:17 says, for there is nothing hidden that will not become manifest, nor anything carefully concealed that will never become known and not come out in the open. And that's in the New World Translation, Luke 8:17. And we have seen this coming true more and more. No matter how clever they are at hiding all their evil, it's coming out and coming out and coming out.
Well, supposedly, I don't know how true this is, but supposedly they're trying to go after everybody that's leaked all their files. And I was sitting there thinking about that earlier today. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, if they are supposedly the truth, what do they care what gets leaked or not? But the problem is, they hold secrets. They do things behind the scenes that are not, quote, friendly or nice or legal. And people are leaking stuff all over the internet, just like their Shepherd the Flock of God book. They'll never hide that book. That book will always be put out.
Right. And if they were the truth, then why does the truth have to constantly be changing? Why do they have to keep rearranging it, discarding truth, or bringing it back as recycled truth? And each time they call it new light, old light, old,
It's like I think about when God spoke to, I'll use Noah, for example. When God told Noah to build the ark, did Noah go off and say, now, did God really say I need to build an ark? Or do I need to build a raft? Or do I need to build a tank? A submarine? What, I'm not sure what God said. No. Noah actually said, God, it says in the Bible, God told Noah to build the ark this way, that way, what the measurements were, and Noah went and did it. He didn't have to guess and stuff. So if God spoke directly to us, then why isn't it, I guess God's not speaking directly to the Watchtower because they're making all these changes. They don't know what's up or down. The Watchtower they're not being led by the Holy Spirit, not at all.
Exactly. That's how we know Holy Spirit can't possibly be guiding the governing body. No.
And if you look at their
Go ahead.
doctrine, if you look at their blood doctrine, you know, while they're saying you can't take blood, the Bible clearly states that God values life and not sacrifice.
Exactly. And all of those laws about blood had nothing to do with what the
I think it was over sacrifice, wasn't it?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Wasn't it? I think I misquoted that. It's mercy over sacrifice, right?
Pretty much. I was just listening to something about that earlier today on another show.
Yeah. So yeah, God supports life. He doesn't want people to sacrifice themselves and die.
Yeah. Well, with the blood issue, what always bothered me is, you know, what did that have to do with saving a life? And I realized from the very beginning when God was telling Noah that they could eat any part of the animal, but not the blood. The blood must be poured out on the ground because the life was in the blood and life, you know, would belong to God. Well, that made sense. But now they turned it into you can't take in blood to save your own life. But all through the Holy Scriptures, they were never talking about blood transfusion to save a human life. They were talking about eating blood like it was any other food, like some cultures still do. To me, it became about respect for life, the life that was in the blood. And we all know that God never, ever, anywhere in the Bible even suggested that he would rather have a child or a new mother bleed to death when they could be saved by blood. We need blood. Blood serves the purpose. Even the Watchtower has acknowledged that blood is basically a liquid organ. All organs have function. We cannot live without blood. What if God had said to Noah in the beginning, you can eat any part of the animal except the heart? Now, the heart keeps the blood beating and it beings life, and life belongs to me. You can't eat the heart. Well, that would be way before the advancement in medical history to be able to transplant a heart, which is not the same thing as taking the heart of an animal and cooking it and eating it with your French fries. It's not the same thing.
I mean, you know, I remember hearing all this stuff about, you know, back years ago when they treated transplants like cannibalism, and they said, well, it's cannibalism if you get a transplant. But they had to fix that. They had to change that because too many people were dying from not getting kidney transplants or whatever and stuff. So if, you know, if they can change that, why can't they change their blood doctrine? Because you know, what's weird is what's weird is they can take the fractions of blood, but aren't blood themselves? I mean, aren't they? I mean, that's what makes up blood is fractions, right? I mean, blood's made out of the fractions. So I guess what I'm getting at, you can take apart the sandwich and eat the parts of the sandwich, but you can't put the sandwich together and eat the whole thing.
That's exactly right. It's like saying you can't eat cake, but you can eat eggs and you can eat flour and you can eat sugar. You just can't put it together and make a cake.
Yeah.
It's the same stupidity. And we're supposed to follow this organization. Yes. Who's this?
I just wanted to chime in with what you guys are saying. When I was a kid, Watchtower used to harp on a scripture in the Bible that said that pride is before a crash. And Watchtower, as Donald and you have just mentioned, they would let people die from not taking readily available medical treatment that could save your life. They'd rather let you die than admit that their blood policy is unscriptural and wrong. Why would they do that? Because they're prideful, they're arrogant, and as that verse says, that precipitates a crash. And this is what you see what's happening with Watchtower right now. They are crashing. But the fact that this organization would let people die, babies die, and then have the nerve to post their picture on the Awake magazine as if you were celebrating the fact that these kids were allowed to die when they had no say in the matter whatsoever. And you'll let moms die. dads die, people die, rather than admit your doctrine is wrong. That is so devilish and demonic. I can't put it in any other words. This is why I hate this organization so much. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Oh, thank you, Jeff, and thank you so much.
Danger. It's dangerous.
Oh, the 60?
Yeah, it's dangerous.
It is.
That's the word that comes to mind. It's a dangerous doctrine, and people die. And as the brother just noted, they put pictures of these children as if they're martyrs. They have a video segment of this child that was sick for a very long time that just makes you cry. And the child acts like he's happy to be a martyr. I would use the word ridiculous if it wasn't so serious. This is a serious misinterpretation of religious doctrine where people die. And I called a rabbi years ago in New York. I had my journalism hat on, and I thought a rabbi in Brooklyn will know all about what the witnesses teach. They were neighbors.
Okay.
And I interviewed the gentleman for an hour. I explained to him that I had grown up a witness, that I had worked for major networks, and that I wanted to speak with him. And he gave me his time. And the most devout Orthodox Jewish person in Brooklyn does not agree with the witnesses. This is a misinterpretation of everything that's kosher food for those that may have that view. And the witnesses have set themselves apart with this blood doctrine. There are a few groups that don't have Christmas. There's a Brethren group, and I think the Mennonites and Amish have a very simple Christmas without a tree, but they do have a Christmas. But this blood doctrine, again, I've known people that have died because of it. I went to have a meeting with the anesthesiologist. My mother lived years after that, and for that I was very glad, and so was she. But I had the elders put paperwork in my face. And I had other paperwork called Durable Power of Attorney Medical for my mother. So when you sign that blood card, that's a legal contract. And the scripture on there has nothing to do with medicine. If anybody still has their blood card, I'd love them to read that scripture. It's about don't be foolish. So it's almost a joke on the part of their legal department, which is terrible.
Wow.
That's all I have to say about that.
I think the Watchtower organization is what I would call a slow Jonestown.
I hear you.
What it is.
But people need to be aware of it, and they also need to know that the majority that are at the highest risk are mothers giving birth that leave orphans.
Oh wow, yeah.
I remember this one dear sister who was bleeding to death after having her child. And at the last moment, she said, no, I can't leave my baby motherless or my poor husband left to mourn me and have to care for our child. And she decided to have a blood transfusion. And of course, she got called before a judicial committee. And they wanted to know if she was sorry for what she had done. And she said, I cannot honestly say I was sorry because I'm alive to take care of my newborn. And my husband is not without a wife and not alone in taking care of our child. I don't know if she was fellowship, but she was very honest. She said, I am not sorry.
Well, amen and all woman to that. She lived, and that's what's important. She can sort the dogma out later, as she did. God bless her and his family. Well, that's how I feel about that. And I feel like that is such a misuse of the medical establishment that we have. They want you to live. I want everyone to clearly know that anesthesiologist, I said to him, I can't tell you how to do your job. I said, if she needs a transfusion, you'll do it. If she doesn't, don't do anything that's not necessary for her care. But I said, I leave it to you as the anesthesiologist and your team to determine that. the doctor and the medical team, not some elder that's never taken high school biology.
Or not some elder that doesn't have a medical degree.
They don't. They've never even finished high school, most of them.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. That's why I was agreeing with you on that. I just added the medical degree on top of it.
Well, there are a few. I do know one gentleman that is a physician that's a witness. There are a few. In France, there are physicians and nurses because when they get to a certain age in high school, if they've excelled, the government pays for their med school. So there,
Wow.
the witnesses do in different parts of the country and world and planet and globe have some. But,
Yeah.
you know, this is something that's been going on since the 1940s. It's established. When they had the AIDS risk, that's been mitigated. They walk in the hospital like they're a bunch of gangsters in suits trying to stand over the bedside of my dear, delicate mother who's been gone 5 years this week. But I will never forget it. And they act like they have authority. And when I took my paperwork for medical power of attorney to the nurse's station, she says, "We'll help you." And I said, "I'd like a meeting with the anesthesiologist before she goes in." They said, "Fine." And he was there lickety-split. And when I came back to her room, the elders had fled. The hospital doesn't want those people in there.
Oh,
They
wow.
want you to live.
Yeah.
Okay? That's my message for the new year. They want you to live. Choose
Yeah,
life.
and I want
Deuteronomy
life.
says choose life. So that's
There
all.
you
I'll
go.
be back later tonight to party with everybody at the after party.
Way to go.
Yeah, and I also learned this week that lasagna is a new holiday trend.
Oh, wow.
So I like pizza and lasagna very much. My Italian neighbors have fish for their Christmas meal, which I learned this week. But I love lasagna, so I guess I'll do that in December every year.
Way to go, Vic.
Good.
Anne Marie,
Yes, who's this?
on this is Stefan again. On this topic of blood, my ex-wife, when we were married, she was a witness. I wasn't. I was Pee-me. And she had to have a major surgery, and it was kind of out of the blue. She was very nervous about it. And I hadn't stepped foot in the Kingdom Hall in years. And she said to me, before we have the surgery, I need you to sign this. And she slid over this blood card. And I just started laughing because it was so absurd that I am going to sign a Jehovah's Witness blood card that basically says you refuse treatment, just let you die. And I looked at the thing, and it was all I could do to restrain myself from just balling it up and throwing it in the garbage. I said, do you honestly expect me to sign this card and let you die? I said, you're going to get as much blood if it turns out that you need it. You're going to get as much blood as they can physically pump into you. If you die in that surgery, it's not going to be for lack of blood. It's going to be for some other reason. I said, to me, it is so selfish and unloving for you to leave behind your 2 daughters. You have 2 grandchildren who've already lost their other grandmother on the other side of the family. So you're the only grandmother that these little kids have. It is so selfish for you to take yourself away from all of these people that rely on you and depend on you for this fallacious doctrine that you haven't even bothered to take time to examine for yourself to see if it makes sense, to see if it's scriptural and theological. You haven't even examined it. Watchtower said it, it must be true, therefore I'm not going to take a blood transfusion. I said, under no circumstances am I going to do this. So she said, oh, okay, well, I'll just have an elder sign it. I said, you can have Jesus sign it. It doesn't matter. I'm your next of kin. I will be there. I will tell the doctor that if they don't give you blood, they might wind up in that hospital, and they'll know exactly what I mean by that. I said, under no circumstances are you going to die under my watch for lack of taking a blood transfusion. But the point that I'm making is, it's really scary when you wake up from this cult and you see when you're interacting with other people how brainwashed they are, that they are just so willing to die, to let themselves die because of Watchtower. And you can't even get them to just reason on the scriptures, because I mentioned to her the account where David and his men had fought on some battle, and they came back and they were starving and exhausted, and they ate food that hadn't been completely bled, which is against the Mosaic Law covenant. And nothing was done to them, because it was better for them to eat meat that wasn't properly bled and keep living than it was to not and die, which tells you right there that God's position is life is more important than the blood, which is the symbol of life.
Exactly.
But it's really scary when you're interacting with these Jehovah's Witnesses, and they are so brainwashed, and you can't even use the Bible to penetrate this brainwashing, that they are just so willing to die. It's just that same Jonestown, Guyana thing. They're just so willing to die that nothing you say seems to make a difference. And we're talking about life and death. And they're just so willing to adopt the Watchtower position without analyzing it, thinking about it, asking if it makes sense. Is it rational? Are there any scriptural precedents? None of that seems to matter. And they're just so willing to die. And it's really scary. It's the most frightening thing. But fortunately enough, her surgery went well. She didn't need it. But the fact of the matter was, the only thing that would have kept her alive would have been me. She would have been thoroughly okay, or at least that's what she said. Maybe if it really came down to it, she would have changed her mind, like the person that was just mentioned who didn't want to leave their baby. You would hope that that's what a mother would say. But the brainwashing, it's so real. It's scary, Anne-Marie.
It's very scary.
I think the only reason why they do what this blood doctrine thing is, if you really think about it, they say that you can be fed intravenously. So I'm thinking what they're thinking is, okay, if you can eat intravenously, that means when you take in blood, that you're eating blood. But what they don't realize is that your body knows the difference between food and blood. Because I've had blood transfusions, and anybody that's had a blood transfusion knows that when you get blood into your system, it doesn't go into your stomach, and it doesn't go into your. So the body knows. It says, "Hey, this is blood. I need to use this and keep it in me so I can live." Whereas food, when you're fed intravenously, your body uses it up. It turns into sugar and it uses it up. Blood doesn't get used up. It's an organ. It's a part of your body.
Yeah, I always felt that eating blood, like I saw my grandmother-in-law spooning blood out of a gravy boat onto her rice, and I was horrified. But it hit me later that that's what made the scriptures make sense when it said abstain from blood, not eating it like it's just another food. To me, that was disrespect. But to me, so it can't be disrespect for life to use blood for the very purpose that God created it. It's two different things, eating blood and taking in blood, because your body needs blood to survive.
Yeah. And like I said, blood, the body knows the difference. Once your body gets that injection of blood, the body knows what to do with it. It knows what it is, and it deals with it. Whereas if you give food that same way, your body says, "Okay, this is food. This is what's going to give me energy, so I'll use it up, give you energy." So your food disappears when you eat it regular, or eat it intravenously. But blood's different. Blood, if you eat blood like food, then it goes to waste. But if you eat it, if you inject it into your body, it doesn't go to waste. It gets put to good use. I mean, look at all the chemo patients and stuff that they get blood transfusions. you know, if they don't get blood transfusions, they'll die, you know,
Right.
because their blood goes bad. I had to get, when I took chemotherapy when I had cancer years ago, I had testicular cancer. And of course, you know, when you have cancer and you're on chemo damages your blood. So you got to get blood transfusions to build up your platelets and your red blood cells and all that stuff. So I had to get that.
Well, good for you.
And I heard, now, of course, I wasn't told who donated, but at the hospital, the nurses did tell me that there was one woman that kept donating for me. And I don't know who she was, but she donated her blood for me, and I got it.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah. Now, if I was a witness, if I was a witness at that time, I probably wouldn't have taken it.
You know, there's an organization, a satanic organization, that always has two things that are prominent in their satanic organization. One is blood sacrifice, and the other is child sexual abuse. And that is just two things that the Watchtower is quite adamant about. They want you to bleed to death, and they hide pedophiles and practically promote it. So it's kind of a scary wake-up call in that regard. Would anybody else like to comment?
Yes, Sister Anne Marie.
Yes, who's it?
Oh, hi. Yeah, this is Shannon. How are you? Hello.
Fine.
Oh, hello. I'm sorry. Okay, can you hear me now?
I heard you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just I came in when you were discussing Christmas.
Oh.
And I was thinking, you know, just listening to you guys talk about, you know, blood issue, and, you know, I think what the Watchtower does is that it strips its members of their humanity as much as possible. You know, by telling people, you know, don't let your children take blood, or, you know, don't report child abuse. You know, it just stripped our humanity. And also by telling us that we couldn't celebrate any holidays, right? Celebrating holidays is very much a human thing. It's universal. It separates us from the animals. You know, the animals, they operate according to the seasons. They operate according to instinct. You know, there's a time for them to breed or court and breed and reproduce. And after they're finished, they go back to just survival, you know, looking for food and surviving until the next round. And they just do it on automatic. But we humans, we put thought into our celebrations, and we get together. That's just how we are, and we can choose not to participate or to participate. So, you know, by the Watchtower telling us we couldn't do things like celebrate Christmas or Easter or anything like that, it just was one more way to strip us of our humanity. So that's why I'm so glad that I left it so long ago, you know, because I kind of gradually rediscovered, you know, what it was like to take part in communal celebrations. And, you know, it just felt like more normal to me. And being pretty much a born-in, right? You know, when you're a kid, it feels normal, but as you get older, it doesn't. So, you know, I'm really happy that, you know, people who called in and said they had a good Christmas. I'm really happy to hear that. We need to get back to rediscovering our humanity through celebrations and not feel any guilt, you know, because this is how we are, and never, ever let any group of people take it away from us again.
Anne-Marie, I think you're breaking up on us, are you? Shannon, can you hear her? Sharon?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay, go ahead, Anne-Marie.
humanity, cover our true humanity.
Anne Marie, you're breaking up on us a lot. We can't hear you that well. Can you hear me, Anne Marie?
I hear you fine. I'm sorry, I'm breaking up.
Are you near a window? Did you move? Everything was going good up until now. Did you do something different?
No, I'm standing in a doorway. Is that okay?
Okay, that's better now, yeah? Well, stay right there. That's better now, yeah?
Okay, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Would anybody else like to comment? I love what Shannon said. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah. Hello, Anne Marie.
Hi.
Yeah, I can hear you okay, and I just wanted to make a couple comments of what the caller said and all that. And I'll go with the last one first here. The doctrine in the Jewish Torah of not eating blood is strictly regarding consumption of blood, consumption of animal blood. True blood transfusions is not mentioned there whatsoever. Now, this organization is not in medical experts. They've got no business, interfering or dictating whether a person should take a blood transfusion or not. That should be none of their business, but they get away with it and so forth, and something has to be done about it down the road if it continues on. And there's a lot of lives have been lost because of it. And my other comment on the caller that come in, he had the question on whether or not the religious societies can issue dictates, rules, and regulations under the freedom of religion. The answer is no, and maybe yes sometimes. Yes, if it's within the law and within the Constitution of the United States and under the Freedom of Religion Clause. No, if it violates the Constitution, if it violates people's civil and human rights. So we need to keep that in mind, and I want to say good night now to this people, and I'll see you at news time. So good night, everybody. God bless and be with you, and a Happy New Year to you.
Oh, what a beautiful comment, Ken. I thank you so much. And as far as our human rights that you bring out so much, the Watchtower really does deny us the very human right to use our own conscience, to make up our own mind, to do what we feel is right for ourselves and for our children. And if they take that right away from you, you have to do what they say. You have to obey them. And that is not scriptural at all. Would anyone else like to comment? How are we doing on time, my brother Rick?
Well, Anne Marie, I'd say take about another 10 minutes, and then we'll go to JW World News, about 10 minutes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. To take away, God gave us the right to decide. He gave us the right to think. He gave us our minds to think with. And he didn't say to waste your minds or to do whatever. He gave us brains to think with. And when Watchtower takes that away from you, that's wrong. They're playing God because they're trying to say that they have the right to tell you what you can and can't think about and all this stuff. But God gave us free will, and that came from God himself. Even God himself doesn't violate our free will, believe it or not. So if God doesn't do it, why are they doing it?
Whoa, Donald, you had a great point.
Are they better than the Almighty himself?
Well, it seems like they think they are, because if God told us that we should make sure of all things, I think that's 1 or 2 Thessalonians 5:21, and Paul praised the Bereans at Acts 17:11, I believe, where he praised them for not just accepting what they were being taught, but he was praising them for checking the scriptures daily as to whether these things were so. And Hebrews
Yeah.
5:14 clearly says that we are to have our perceptive powers trained through use. You cannot perceive right or wrong, stupid or right, if you're not allowed to use your brain. We're just supposed to sit there in the Kingdom Hall or at the assembly and just listen, and agree with whatever's being said. And if they change the rule next week, next month, oh, well, we're just supposed to adjust our thinking. This is not what God said. He didn't even suggest that we should be following man over and above Christ or God.
Yeah. I tell you what, the governing body is in a whole lot of trouble because when it comes to the Almighty, they're going to stand in real trouble.
I think so. And doesn't Psalms 143 or 146, verse 3 say that we are not to put our trust in earthling man to whom no salvation belongs? If we're clearly told not to put our trust in man, what are we doing if we're obeying the governing body over and above what the Bible says?
Yeah, that's true.
Anne Marie?
Yes, ma'am. Is this your
Hi, hon.
sister?
This is Susan. Hi, honey.
Oh my God! Hello, my sister.
I really like what Donald said. I that is the smartest thing I've heard in the longest time, where he brought out that back in Eden, Adam was given the decision whether he wanted to eat or not. Even though God said no, and it was a law and a rule, he still had the right to do it or not if he wanted to. So it's
Right.
the same. So the Watchtower is saying, well, you can't do this. But he gave Adam the choice whether he wanted to eat of the fruit or not. So why can't we have the choice of whether we want to take blood or not?
Exactly.
And I think that's the smartest thing I've heard. Why would we usurp God's rights? He gave us the right to do that. Yes, John.
When they do that, not only they're actually overriding God, because nothing is above God. And for them to do what they're doing, to take away your right, to actually take away your free will that you have the right to exercise, that is utterly, completely, totally satanic. It's so satanic that is exactly what the devil does. That's exactly what he does. And it's just evil because you're violating a person's independence. You're violating their autonomy. You're violating everything that makes a human a human.
Well, we're created a certain way, and even angels have rights.
Yeah.
So why don't we have rights? Why do these men sitting at a table in New York have more rights than we do?
Good point. And didn't God give us freedom of thought and his own guidance in the scriptures? But we have to listen to the governing body over and above that? That's clearly not God's will.
No, they're just usurping. Satan usurped God's position. He did. And so that's what the Watchtower is doing, is they're usurping a position that was given. So it's totally wrong all ways around. And I really appreciate this discussion tonight.
Oh, I love it. Didn't, was it Exodus chapter 14 or somewhere around there where Satan is quoted as basically saying, I'm going to make myself like God, and I'm going to get people to listen to me and to follow me. And that gives me the chills, because to me, that's what Watchtower's been doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we're out of time. I'm not quite sure. Rick, have we used up our 10 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead. Just take, wrap it up, do another couple of minutes and wrap it up, and we'll go to the news. Thank you, Emery.
Oh, bless your heart. Would anybody like to comment on anything anyone has said?
Well, I was hearing that, what you're saying about free will, and I can tell you that that organization, they ain't the law.
Yeah.
And they act like they are the law. It's usurping God or Jesus Christ. It's just like the ones in Prophet Samuel's day, how they wanted a human king, and Samuel, he warned them the cost, and they said, we don't care.
Isn't that the truth?
And we're supposed to have free will, and this blood thing, they consuming it and using it in transfusion, it is truly a different thing. Even Vern has videos on that.
Yeah, Vern's great. Vern's great. Anybody else like to have a final comment? We need to wrap up the show.
This is Donald here. I just want to thank you, Anne Marie, for listening to me and for allowing me to comment. Thank you so much. And I do have a wonderful new year coming up. And don't forget, don't write 2025 on your paper, write 2026. Because I know a lot of people do that. Every new year, somebody writes the wrong year, you know.
That's so true. Well, I love all of you guys, and I thank all of you for calling and giving such wonderful thoughts. I want to thank Stephen, and I want to thank Donald from Texas, and dear Pixie, and Dick Borgie from North Carolina. And I want to thank Ken and Tom and Nicole and Shannon. And she talked about discovering our humanity, and I think Watchtower tries to rob us of that. I want to thank our dear sister Susan, and lastly, I want to thank Dallas. And he made the point that basically Watchtower has made their own laws to be over God's laws, and that is such a good point. It was a wonderful show. I want to thank you all again. Today is and this show is touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower, and I want to bless you. We go to our wonderful dear brother Rick and JW World News. Rick?
Well, thank you, Anne Marie. Hey, got a lot of people coming in here tonight on the 6 Greens. And what happens when it gets cold up here in New England? Well, it gets cold pretty much all around the country. And the colder it gets, the more people we get coming in to warm up right here on the 6 Greens Tele-Network. Well, stay with us. Don't you guys go anywhere. Stay on this YouTube channel, Facebook channel. We've got JW World News coming up. Now, that's the news. The Watchtower does not want us talking about it, but we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on the 6 Greens Tele-Network. So thank all those that came in, all those that spoke up. And listen tonight, maybe you can muster up the courage and call into JW World News, maybe for the first time. We're looking forward to that. So thank you for spending some time with Anne Marie. Spend some time with us next right here on our network. Appreciate it. See you in just a couple minutes. Bye now.